when you're dealing with a psychopath, if you just do these two things, and there's a whole long list I could give you, but if you just get these two right, you'll be good. You'll be good to go. So the first one is, I'm going to be more calm than that person in every interaction.
Yeah.
I will never escalate anything. All right. And the second one is, I will be non-reactive. So even if they say something shocking, my eyebrows aren't going to go up. I'll say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I will be as non-reactive as humanly possible. When you're looking at any conversation, even if it's not with a sociopath, the person reacting the least to the other person is in charge. So in that situation, and I encourage people all the time, never, ever, ever view the world in terms of hierarchy. It will make you fail every time because you're constantly worried about external validation. So the mistake you make in dealing with sociopaths, not you, but people, is, am I above them? Are they above me right now? Am I being subordinated? All of those. That's all concern for hierarchy, and we have to get rid of it. Am I calm? And am I the calmest person in the room? Am I non-reactive? This is all internal. I'm in control of me only, and I'm only worried about those two things. I'm non-reactive because they feed on those emotional reactions. So they start to realize this fishing spot's not working. They're not going to bring their boat back there and keep fishing.
Okay, but then how do you advise if you're in an organization or a team and it's going down like this person's directing it in a really destructive manner? Do you be seditious? Do you try to conspire with your workmates and expose them? Like, how would you? Okay, so you just taught me how to manage my own emotional.
Let's talk about how to deal with them directly.
Yeah.
So they'll use something called FOG, F-O-G, and that stands for fear, obligation, and guilt.
Fear, obligation, guilt.
And you need to understand they'll typically have one primary currency when they deal with these things. It's either fear, obligation, or guilt. And when they use one of those, all you do is you take that technique they're using and pull it out and like, let me grab this light over here. I'm going to shine this light right on it and say, let's both look at this together. So once you bring something into the sunlight, it's a disinfectant. It takes a lot of the power, like 90% of the power away from it. So let's say like you're using a guilt tactic on me and you're the sociopath, just for this pretend example. I might say something like, Adam, I can tell that it sounds like you're very passionate about this, but I could be totally wrong, and I probably am, but it sounds like you're wanting me to feel guilty for not helping you with that report. And I know that's probably not your intent. So I really want them to know that I know exactly what you're doing. Oh, maybe I heard that wrong, but I'm still pulling that thing out. And I want them to know that here's what you're doing and I see it. Maybe other people see it. So any of those techniques you hear is, maybe I read this wrong. It sounded to me, and I could be wrong, that you wanted to do, or you wanted me to feel X, Y, or Z. And I don't think you intended that at all, but that's just how it sounded for a second. The second is the 3-second rule. Anytime they speak to you, pause to think about what they say for 3 seconds, not as a tactic. If you do the 3-second thing as a tactic to like win over somebody, it's going to look weird and awkward. If you do it to consciously think about and consider what they just said, use that time instead of weaponizing that time to think about what they said before you respond. And that is absolutely powerful when you're dealing with these people. The final one is, the final one I'll talk about here, when they say something that's like gaslighting, manipulative, maybe using fear and obligation together, they're kind of like in this really run-on sentence, which you typically hear, especially with gaslighters, a very run-on sentence. Ask them to repeat it. So the more they repeat it, they have to go back and gaslight again.
Yes.
Ask them to do it again. So they are having to put their thing out there where you get to hear every word again, and they've got to make it a lot more public. So they're not just brushing over a bunch of stuff.
Would you say that if you're a newer person in an organization and the sociopath has the hierarchical power over you within the institution, they're your boss or in a superior in some way, like, is there any point in bringing it up, or just protect yourself, get your credits, get your paycheck, and then when you're ready to make the move, step out of that company? Like how much would you advise a young person getting into like the professional space to take the sociopath on?
I would never take them on. I'd work with them. So essentially you become Dwight Schrute in that situation. But you kind of go up and you still do those things. You're like, well, maybe I'm hearing this completely wrong. I know you've managed a lot of people. You want to help them to feel important. Yeah. You've been in a leadership position for a long time. So I'm sure you didn't mean this, but maybe I heard this wrong, but it sounded like X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So it's a compliment, call out the technique. Compliment, call out technique.
And what's the likelihood that the sociopath is going to identify as you're the one person that's not, that's essentially calling bullshit in some kind of way, and they're going to get forced out? Like,
one of two things will happen. Number one, they'll say, I need to use, this person's less manipulatable, which means you're also not going to get as many rewards. Mm-hmm. Number two is, I need to be more covert with this person. So I need to try different tactics. And if they view it as a game, then they'll just be more covert. Yeah.
What's the, I guess being in the military, you might have dealt with this. What's the longest you've kind of been able to hang in there with a sociopathic boss or colleague?
Well, the thing in the military, you don't choose your boss.
Yeah.
And you can't choose your subordinates. They're chosen for you.
Right.
And you can't fire people. So you've got to train them and make them better. So I've had sociopaths above me and working for me before. And it's a challenge. And the longest I've gone, and you just have to deal with it. And so the way that I've dealt with it is to send messages through people to that person as much as I possibly could. Everything was written on email. If they had a conversation with me, I would write them a follow-up email later of everything that we talked about. So they know everything they say. And even if it was mundane, they said, hand me that water bottle over there, and then we're going to meet next Tuesday. I would write them a follow-up email. Hey, glad I was able to get that water for you. We have this meeting next Tuesday. So their brain starts learning everything that I do with this person is going to be on record. Yeah. So it's a very covert, subtle way of putting them on notice.
And how set, I guess let's deal with sociopaths first, because we know more sociopaths. We probably interact and deal with more sociopaths. How set is the sociopathic brain? Can they unlearn that? Can they become present, comfortable, empathetic?
No, absolutely not. Wow. So when a sociopath goes to therapy, they learn masking techniques. Here's how to ask questions that sound empathetic. Yeah. Here's how to make conversation. It's typically there are some research projects underway right now that are exploring guided laser modifications to the amygdala. So these people will have misshapen or different volume of amygdala than normal people. So they're doing some studies on it, maybe that we can cure it by changing the physiology instead of the psychology.
Wow. And how about with you, because I know you're adept with some psychedelics and so forth. Any evidence that the sociopathic tendencies get mitigated through psychedelic experiences?
I haven't seen any research. My personal opinion, just as a neuro dude, is that I think there's a very good chance that if you get a high dose, like 5 grams plus of psilocybin or something, that these people could get their first ever feeling of empathy. Not that it's going to permanently install it, but now they have a reference point. They finally get to see what everyone else feels, because every sociopath thinks everyone's like them. Mm-hmm. They don't think that you're manipulatable and you're not like them at all. They think the world is just all lies and trickery. Yeah. So they finally get that first feeling of like, oh my God, when I saw my girlfriend in college cry. This is why she cried. So they finally get to get that taste, and that's their first one. And then a couple months later, you do another one. I think that could be transformational for them.
Yeah.
I really do.
Okay. That was great. And that's a kind of a really strong introduction to you and your work. Here's the question that I think I'm going to ask probably every guest that I sit down with. The world seems pretty nuts right now. Maybe for some of us less nuts, maybe for other of us more nuts. What's your personal cosmology? Like you've got a lot of high net worth, high influence people. You've been in the military at high levels of intelligence. Like, what's your take on the world? Like what's going on in the world? And this can just be completely conjecture, your opinion, everything. Like, what's your take on the world?
It is.
What's happening?
I think there are people, I don't know who. And anybody that claims to have all those answers, I would be very suspicious.
Yeah.
When they say, I've got it figured out.
Yeah.
But I think there are people that want a globalist approach. They want the one world government, whatever the globalist means.
Yes.
They're globalist people. And I think most of them are over the age of 85. And I think that they are so narcissistic that they sped up the plan. The plan that should have taken 20 years, they tried to do in 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that was too much, too fast, and people like snapped back like a rubber band. Like, this is weird. Yeah. This is unusual. Yeah. And I think it woke a lot of people up. And I think there's another theory out there that we're transitioning into this biblical spiritual phase, because we've been in the bull phase of Taurus for so long, and now we're moving into this Pisces. Whether or not you believe it, I don't know. Whether I don't believe it or disbelieve it. There's information out there that's been there for thousands and thousands of years, and it's at least interesting that we're seeing all the signs that we're supposed to see for this transition into this this Aquarius phase right now. And even at the end of the bull, like, this is where during this period of the bull, the period of Taurus, we had the heifer, the baby calves and stuff that all across Israel and all that. And now we're in this new thing. And whether or not it's true, I don't know. But there's something happening around the world right now where there's either a spiritual awakening, or it's really hard to put your finger on. But I think people are realizing that how much is fake. And I mean, we've got, maybe, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but the Cartoon Network has more viewers than CNN.
Oh yeah. And the top podcasts. I mean, you put Rogan, Danny Jones, Chris Williamson, Patrick Bet-David, they're knocking the shit out of all the major networks put together on a daily basis. Don't meet their viewership. And
I think it's because people are disgusted with simulations now.
Yeah.
Everything's simulated. The simulated narratives on TV, everything's fabricated and fake and made for some kind of narrative to script how it's being perceived in a very specific way. And I think people are waking up to it. And I think they're sick of it. And I think people are craving some kind of authenticity, to where I'm going to watch a guy, I have no idea where it's going to go. I'm going to get a 3-hour thing. It's totally authentic. It's purely raw. I may have a DNA scientist on there talking about LSD for no reason, just because it's fun to talk about. So I think we're starving for something real, and we're seeing things. And this is great. I think for anybody listening, one thing I've told my kids since they were little is, if you see a product for sale and they can't tell you the problem that they're solving, you need to be terrified. You need to be very scared, because the problem they're solving is not something that they want to talk about.
Right.
So my son, his name's William. The other day, he shows me this thing for this new mask that you put on, like a VR headset thing, made by a big social media company. And I told him, like, go to the website for that and find on this website that's advertising this new product, what is the problem that they're solving? Because you look at Amazon, they can get you packages faster. We're going to do it overnight. They're very open about the problems they're solving. He couldn't find it. And I said, that needs to be the biggest red flag of your life.
Yeah.
The problem they're trying to solve is loneliness and a desire to escape from life. And that's horrifying.
Right.
And it's an anesthetic. So they're not selling some productive VR goggles.
Right.
They're selling anesthetic.
Right.
Which is sad.
That's a good piece of wisdom for a young person, because then they can discover it on their own as well, come to the realization, which is important. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned about this craving of authenticity, because like with music, particularly with my 16-year-old, who, like 13, it was, you know, what I call mumble rap and what's the when they run somebody's voice through the auto-tune, you know, it's like mumble rap and auto-tune.
Yeah.
But now that like 15, 16, it's like Noah Kahan, Zach Bryan, like the music is like pure singer-songwriter, authenticity. So there's this interesting thing. And also, like, what's awesome, both my boys are kind of jocks, all right? One's like football, basketball, the other's high-level soccer. But the jock kids, like in this day and age, like they're really nice kids. Like the whole, like maybe when we were kids, like the jock bullying and all stuff, like that's kind of been blasted out of them. But the other thing is that they don't want anything to do with like wokeism, inauthenticity. They're ruthless on each other in the way they take the piss out of each other and joke and tease.
Yeah.
And they demand a certain level of authenticity about that. And then musically, what the kids are kind of attracted to these days is that same push back towards authenticity. Like there's still, you know, as we saw, like even in last night's Super Bowl, there's still like this big cultural push for auto-tune, mumble rap, all this kind of shit. Yeah. But like, you know, I'm fine with kids, like they want to go see like, you know, like belter or singer songwriter kind of things like that, which is really, that's really encouraging.
They're surrounded by everything fake on Instagram and all that every day. The people are fake. The makeup is fake. The boobs are fake. Everything that you're seeing on there is some simulation of something that is real.
How much does it affect you as a body language reader with all the surgeries and Botox? Like how much does it affect your ability to pick a jury, discern if somebody's lying, if they've had different Botoxes and they have an expressionless forehead? Or it's just the fact that they would push their forehead to an expressionless space, an indication of their psychology?
That is one indication, but if a body part's not moving, I'll ignore it and look at something else.
Oh, okay. So you get the cue from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not just body language. We're looking at statement analysis as well. So like one of the famous questions that I ask is, I want to determine whether you know what locus of control means.
Yeah.
So a person either believes the world happens to them or they happen to the world. So if I did one case for a major grocery store where a lady slipped on a piece of cantaloupe or something and hurt her back. And I was not working for the lady. So I needed to find people that have an internal locus of control, right?
Yeah.
So we just asked the question, how does a person catch a cold? That's it.
Right.
So we get one side of the people saying, well, these kids are wiping boogers on the escalators. Nobody's washing their hands. People are coughing all over the place. They're not wearing masks. They just give all of these reasons.
Right.
Then the other group of people says, well, I catch a cold because maybe my diet wasn't good. I didn't take vitamins. I didn't sanitize when I should. I didn't wear a mask. It was all their fault.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating that we don't need that much body language if you know the right questions that are going to reveal the psychology that you need.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So my follow-up, going back a little bit towards the conspiracy, your personal cosmology, I have, there's two there's two spheres of the way conspiracy happens. So pre-COVID and pre-Epstein's Island, I believed in what I called the theory of confluence, okay? That my shitty, greedy idea goes to some, Bilderberg or some international gathering and at Davos, and it meets your shitty, greedy idea. And we're like, hey, we can make a bigger, shittier, even more greedy idea. And so it just happens by confluence that these ideas, they kind of come together, all right? I've known for years about single origin point, like whatever Illuminati, black nobility, whatever you might want to call it, but that there's like either one or many centralized organizing points where the shitty, greedy ideas are centrally organized beforehand. So pre-COVID, pre-Epstein Island, I believed in the theory of confluence. After COVID, I have no choice but to now believe in these single origin points.
Large scale planning.
Yes, large scale planning. Where, in your kind of cosmological view, is it confluence or single origin point or a few different points?
I think on the large scale, that's single point. I think there's a very direct outcome, but I think there's a lot of confluence that's helping everybody to get there. So like there's a ship captain, there's a navigator on that ship, and they have a GPS waypoint they need to reach. Let's say they've got to sail to Tokyo and they know where they're going. There's a whole team of officers and stuff on that ship that know the destination. The guy running the engine doesn't really know where they're going, but he's participating. The guy cooking the food down in the mess hall he's not involved with that navigation, but he's part of it without knowing that they're part of it.
Right.
So I think that confluence is the other wealth, like ultra high net worth people that might be participating and helping the ship to run while not really knowing what the end destination is.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the autocratic class that basically does the dirty work. And that's reductionism and paycheckism, I think. That, hey, I got to feed my family. This is what I do. I'm just doing this one little single part. I'm not the guy making the plan. I'm just the guy following this little part. So I think they work in conjunction with one another, which is what's so interesting about what Trump's doing right now, which we were speaking a little bit on the way out over here, is that he's literally isolating the head of the snake and de-incentivizing the financial autocratic class that's underneath it, saying, hey, maybe you might get investigated. Maybe you were involved in some pretty bad shit. Here's an 8-month buyout, and we're probably going to look the other way. Or if you're sticking with this job, you better be squeaky clean, or you're going to take the heat for the direction that you were taken from above. So there's some real 5th generation warfare going on right now, some 9-dimension chess. It's fascinating. As a parent, it's really exhausting.
And it's not left and right.
No.
That's the ultimate deception, is that people will say, these are the Democrats doing this. These are the far right Republicans doing this crazy stuff. And I was just on a podcast a couple of days ago talking about PSYOPs. And if you watch just what happened when Trump and Elon go into the USAID building, there's 2 people to pay attention to, 2 types. One type of person is going to be very violently yelling and screaming and protesting against them doing this and going out to stop these crazy things that they're stopping. Then that's mostly people that are on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another group of people on the right that became very, very silent very quickly. So who became loud and who got really quiet? So it's not a left and right issue by any means. It's just corruption.
Yeah.
And corruption is not a partisan issue.
No.
It's both sides of the aisle. And we need to clean it out on both sides. And you may not be, I'm not the biggest fan of Trump. He's not my favorite person in the world. But if I'm going under heart surgery, I want a psychopath. I want a narcissist. I want a person that cares about the results and doesn't care about me. They care about just getting the result. Of course they care about me, but they're not going to be in there hyperventilating. They're not going to be freaking out. they're not going to be overwhelmed by emotion if the surgery, something goes wrong and they've got to do some bypass thing or the power in the hospital goes out and he's got to use a handsaw. I want that guy. I want that guy with no emotion, who's just said, I'm the best surgeon in the world. I'm going to do this. He didn't care about Chase Hughes.
Right.
He cares about his numbers and his stats.
Right.
I want that guy.
So
I'm not inviting him to my house.
Yeah.
But he can cut me open.
I know that you do some political advisory work and coaching, so I don't want to lead you anywhere that you're not comfortable, but like, what's your body language? What's your psychological behavioral take on, let's just do, because of the two most influential right now, let's just do Trump and Musk.
Yeah.
What's your take on those guys? Because I'm so confused. I mean, I love a lot of the things that are happening right now, but there's other things that seem to be happening, like, I love the momentum and push for truth and getting it all exposed out there. I don't necessarily love that it's all getting narrowed down and filtered through X and filtered through Starlink, because then there's another singular point of control that can be completely corrupted. Yeah. So I don't know, savior or antichrist? Like, what's your take on these two guys, if you're comfortable with it? Because I know you might have some professional relationships there.
That's all right. I think both of them. If the two things I look at with a politician is passion and purpose, those two things. So, what are they most passionate about? And with some politicians, you have no idea. You don't know what they're passionate about. They'll go to one city and say one thing and use a certain accent.
Yeah.
Their whole entire personality, like a sociopath, will completely change when they go to that next city.
Yeah.
But I think if passion and purpose is clear, like it was for JFK, and JFK had the clearest passion, the clearest purpose. He communicated his plans in advance and wanted to execute on everything that he said. I love any politician that has clear passion and purpose, because they're going to be authentic. And I think that's one of the reasons. Same thing with Joe Rogan, is that Trump is real. Yeah. It's not scripted. Yeah. He's not going off cue cards. He walked onto the Joe Rogan podcast. There's no notes.
Right.
He didn't bring an iPad. He didn't put questions ahead in advance. He didn't demand to see the video. And even you can listen to Joe talk about it. He said, like, he slid this release across the table. Trump didn't read it. Just, whatever, release whatever you want. And that's what people are craving. And I think we're so disgusted with fake stuff that's why he won that election.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And it's the same with Elon. Elon's not afraid to like dance and look silly and say exactly what's on his mind. Like when he's talking to the Disney people who were threatening to take ads off of his platform. I loved that.
Yeah.
And there's that one where he's borderline crying and doesn't try to conceal it. When he's talking about when Buzz Aldrin was disappointed in him. He doesn't try to hide that. And it's refreshing. Like, our ancestral part of our brain is wired to seek certainty and predictability. So if I have someone that's clearly talking about what I can expect in the future, my brain goes to it. We don't follow the best person. We follow the most followable. Write that one down if you're listening. Our brains are hardwired to follow the clearest message.
Follow the clearest message.
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting, and not to kind of get this narcissistically, but so when it comes to Brain Supreme and when it comes to marketing, first off, I have a brand. So I have a wealth of coaching experience. Like, I've probably had more one-on-one coaching conversations about how to microdose than anybody in the world. Yeah. There's much better mushroom people. There's much better brain people. Like, I'm not even close. I'm not even in the top 10%, but I've had a lot of conversations on how to do this, probably more than anybody else. And so when it comes to marketing in this day and age, I'm like, I want to give everything away immediately up front. And then if you're interested, keep listening. If you're not interested, I don't want to string you along. Yeah. Like, we just had this thing where there was a health guru who, my wife and my son have some persistent health issues. And so we paid for the first level, which we thought was going to be a whole kind of introduction as to what their philosophy is. But basically all it was a timeshare meeting. So we paid $150 to get the timeshare meeting. And then I'm getting sweated for what's going to be $9,000. And I freaked out on the guy. Like, I got so angry. And I'm like, look, as a small business owner, like, the fact that you're dealing with health and treating it like timeshares, like, total bullshit. So yes, like what you're saying about Trump is so true. Like, just that upfront authenticity, people completely crave that and they respond to that, and they've never needed it more. And the thing that's so shocking in this day and age is that, like, you might not, like, what's happening in the mind of people where they can't perceive that. And they would think, like, literally Kamala Harris was one of the most inauthentic public figures I've ever seen in my life. She's not even a good one, like some people might find Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
She's a terrible one. Like, how can somebody...
Gavin's good.
Gavin's a sociopath. I mean, like,
he's damn
flat
good.
out, you know, like, literally, like, you wear a mask, you send your kids to public school, you keep social distancing. I'm going to French Laundry to have dinner with 30 of my closest, investor friends, and sending my kid to a private school where everything's going along as normal. Like, yeah, total piece of shit, like, in my book. Like,
but he's good.
Yeah, he's
Damn
good. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, I recognize that where they're good. Like, what's happening in people's minds where they can't discern between authenticity they don't like and then aligning with terrible inauthenticity?
It comes down to two things: identity instead of ideas. Because
identity over ideas.
If I can get you to start making public agreements that you support a person or a cause, and then I can get you to say everything is about left or right. That's the biggest manipulation of all. There's all kinds of media manipulation. The biggest one of all time is there's a left and there's a right. That's not real.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fake.
Yeah.
And the second piece is we will go along once our identity is tied into something. Everything that other people are doing, we will go along with it. There's a famous experiment that's done by this guy named Dr. Solomon Asch, where they have a card up on the table, and it's got 3 lines on it. And they hold up another card with a line, and it says, which line is equal to line A? Or this line on this card is A, B, or C. And there's 10 people in the room. 9 of them are actors. Only 1 person is the participant in the experiment. Clearly, like a golden retriever would know that the correct answer is A.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone in the line says B, 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 B. And it gets to that person, like 95% of people, 95% will just say B because everyone else said B.
Yeah.
Then they know damn well the answer is A.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, I think. And it was clear, like, she had no policies, no ideas. Her personality changed based on who she was talking to, which is a huge, huge red flag.
Yeah.
And if I go along with something at the beginning, it's extremely mentally uncomfortable to start breaking away from that. To go against all of those people saying
now
that.
it's your identity. Yep.
Yeah. And it's who I am.
Tribal identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to stick with that identity. But what that identity also does, it's confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what kind of news that you might hear, like you might hear something great about Trump, they're lying.
Yes.
They're stretching the truth.
Yeah.
You hear something bad about Kamala, if you're her supporter, you're like, they're assholes. They're smearing her. This is a campaign to destroy her.
Yes.
So your brain literally processes reality differently.
Yeah.
So it's a different reality for a lot of those people. And it's not just the left. People on the far right, equally delusional and equally in a false reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I voted for Trump this round. Loving a lot of what he's doing. I'm really supportive of him, but I have a rule in my life. Like, if you got COVID wrong, if you weren't smart enough to smell bullshit with COVID, like I put you in a real fine box, especially if you're an organizational leader, government leader, religious leader, business leader. family, I can give you a little bit of a break because you're inundated with fears and all these other things. But if you're leading any kind of organization, you got COVID wrong. Like for me, like because there's too many super wise, too many smart people in the world who also had the integrity and the vision to get COVID right. So like the fact that Trump like kind of got COVID wrong, like he was like saying some things about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin at the time, but the fact that he like gave in to Fauci and let it get shut down, like there's still a reservation on my end. But even as somebody who's now leaning like much more conservative, and I'm very aware of the left-right paradigm, so I don't want to buy into it, but like there's certain, I feel that this is kind of what I always used to say. It's actually not true that lemmings just run off cliffs. That was made up, by the way. I didn't know that. Oh, it's amazing. So what happened, like for our listeners, lemmings are these little hamster-like creatures. I think they're in like British Columbia, but the general gist of what I'm saying, this is a lot about like me as a human being. Like the general gist of what I'm saying is truthful and directed towards truth. Facts might be wrong. So check it out. But I believe the story goes, Disney was shooting their first in the 1950s wildlife nature documentary. And they had this group of lemmings, which I think are like Patagonian hamsters, and they wanted to film them, and they brought them to British Columbia, and the hamsters were so disoriented in every way that they just started sprinting and they all ran off a cliff and they died. And so there's this concept that we have in our culture that lemmings are these creatures that will commit mass suicides. It's totally not true. And Disney knew it was not true. They knew it was because they had taken these hamsters and moved them to a completely new location and so disoriented them and then released them and set like a predator to chase them that they just jumped off the cliff. But they loved the narrative that lemmings jump off cliffs. Total bullshit. It's like statins. It's like so many things. It was a fiction that they could market, and they thought it would sell the documentary better, so they just kept it in there.
They went all in.
So this thing about like lemmings running off cliffs, it's just not true. But from a sociological and kind of like a linguistic device, like I've always kind of viewed politics in a fashion like we have two political parties. We have the forward sprinting lemmings, the lemmings that are sprinting towards oblivion, and then we have the backwards walking lemmings. And my politics usually go with which group is going to get us to oblivion slower, because I don't want oblivion.
I love that.
So I move left, right. Okay. So I was like with George Bush and other stuff, like I was definitely left because I'm like, this guy, yellow cake, 9/11, like they're sprinting us towards oblivion. I want to get there slower. I always knew that the Democrats were walking backwards, but now it seems like the Democrats were sprinting us towards oblivion. So I went much more conservative.
If you look at JFK and Obama,
totally different.
JFK's policies are identical to Trump's.
Yes.
In almost every way.
Yes. Yeah.
And those are Democrat policies.
Yeah.
100%. And Obama deported more people than everybody.
Yeah. And the drones and all the drone warfare and the warfare and so forth. So it's all just marketing. I get the spin, but do you find are the belief systems so intractable at this point that people can't change? Or if enough people are saying line A is the longest line A is the longest line, then the stragglers are going to be like, okay, line A. But in some ways, that agreement can be maybe a good thing.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're waking up, and who knows what's next, but I think it is massive. There's going to be a massive shift this year. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. Before Christmas, a lot's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's some things I can't talk about that I know are going to happen, but we're going to have a lot of shifts happening. And one thing I would pay attention to, and if I could just give you one thing that would save you from psyops for the rest of your life, if I'm looking at an idea, are people needing to be suppressed or silenced for this idea to flourish? That's the only question you ever need to ask yourself.
Are people needing this idea to be suppressed?
Or no, am I having to silence people or suppress people in order for my idea to be popular?
Right.
And then we go back to COVID. There were Harvard and Stanford and Oxford educated MD doctors who maybe lost their license. I know that they got ostracized from their communities.
Malone, McCullough,
social media.
Yeah, all the guys. They're angels of this earth. They're heroes.
Yeah, and right away I thought, good ideas do not require suppression ever. So if your idea requires that, it's a bad idea.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
So right away, and that should be the one thing, no matter what's going on in our world, if people need to be silenced, you're looking at a big psyop.
Yep.
A huge psychological warfare operation. Just that one question.
Yeah.
So it's the salvation if people actually use it.
Yes. 100%. All right. Shifting gears a little bit. Talk to me about your personal story with psychedelics, how they've helped you heal, gain insight, define and redefine who you are as a human being and kind of modern behavioral scientist. Like, how have you used these plant medicines along the way, and how did it start?
It started for me. I got diagnosed with a bad brain disease a few years ago, and it was temporal lobe epilepsy with a possibility of mesial temporal sclerosis, which means your hippocampus is eating itself. And
eating yourself all the time, or just when you would have the seizures?
During the seizures, mostly.
Okay.
Most of the time. And during a seizure, no matter if it's like body shaking or like an absence seizure where somebody's just kind of like out of it, you're losing like 1 million neurons a second.
And how many do we have in total?
Trillions.
Okay. But still, it's not insignificant.
Right. And it depends on where you're losing those neurons.
Okay.
Like you lose a few thousand in your spinal cord and you're a goner. Your heart stops.
Wow.
So in reality, it's bad. And I got to a point where I couldn't recognize who my wife was. I didn't know who she was.
Oh, man.
And we were driving in for my daughter to be born into labor and delivery. And I didn't know.
And this is not too long ago.
Yeah, it's 14 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was at a point of having 9 seizures a day.
So you were already like Chase Hughes, behavioral scientist, and on your way and doing all this great work. Okay.
Yeah. But I had been having these seizures for 2 years, and everyone had been seeing me, but I have amnesia for all the seizures. So everyone thought, oh, Chase Hughes, he's studied neuroscience and all this stuff. He would know if there was a problem, he would go to a doctor. I didn't remember any of these seizures. I never remembered them. So one day we're on YouTube. We have a YouTube show called The Behavior Panel, and we're filming that show. And I had a seizure on camera, and I got to watch it back. Instantly, I knew that is temporal lobe epilepsy. I went to go see a doctor.
But so you never had either anybody in your world who was like, hey, dude, there's something wrong. Like, you never had like an intervention like that?
Yeah, because they thought like, well, Chase, you looked really tired last night. And I'll say, yeah, maybe I was. I had a few conversations like that.
Yeah.
But I went to see a doctor, a neurologist, and they gave me medicine. And the number one side effect of that medication was seizures. And I looked it up, and it was probably the best medication. And it could cause seizures. Like, I'm like, what world are we living in where this is happening? So I go see a bunch of people, and I get started on methylene blue, which I think you and I both take.
Yeah, we're both fans. So methylene blue, for our audience, like, definitely worthy of a deep dive.
Yeah.
It's Chase is probably better at this, but it was a turn of the century dye that was used for canvases and blue jeans and so forth. I'm not quite sure how they realized the people who were working the dyes like weren't getting sick or were experiencing like better health outcomes. Like, how did they make I want to stay with the main gist. One of the things I want to do in my podcast is I want to finish the main trend of thought. You ever have that where you're watching a podcast and you get a tantrum?
Oh, yeah.
No. You were so close. So I want to go back to the personal story of the psychedelics and how you got there. But like, just a little side foray into methylene blue. I know there's a guy named Dr. Group who's really has some great lectures on methylene blue and so forth. But wasn't it like the people who were working the dye were having certain like health outcomes better than than the rest of their colleagues in these kind of terrible early 19th century working conditions or 20th century working conditions? I
think they realized that a few years later. But initially what made it a huge discovery was this bioengineer who invented it was starting to goof off with it at home, and he was dyeing stuff on microscope slides. But when he would take a little slice of a rat brain and you stick it on that slide, all the methylene blue soaks up into the neurons. Like it has what's called a neuronal affinity.
Right.
So it sucks into all the brain tissue. And then he injected a couple of rats with it, killed them, did an autopsy, and every neuron, brainstem, brain, everything in the entire rat for neurons was blue. The whole nervous system.
So it can transverse the blood-brain barrier.
Big time.
Okay. But how did he know this was a beneficial transversing, not a negative transverse?
He didn't at first. Okay. He started taking it, but then they figured out that it stops free radicals. It lessens up tons of free radicals in your body, which are, we don't have time to go into it, but reactive oxygen species and reactive nitrogen species. Yeah. And so during that process, maybe 40 years later, they discovered that during that process, the methylene blue molecule will suck up electrons and then donate those electrons to healthy mitochondria, giving your body more energy to heal itself. So, which stops inflammation and oxidative stress and all kinds of, like, the root of most diseases, inflammation, oxidative stress, and low cellular oxygen.
Yeah.
That's most disease. So I started taking this methylene blue stuff, and I thought I need neuronal repair and neuronal protection. And nicotine is one of the strongest neuroprotective chemicals out there.
Yeah.
I know it's addictive, and I know it's...
No, is it? Or are the additives that they've added to it?
I think nicotine itself is addictive, but not unhealthy.
Is it addictive in the way of, like, even taking a product like Brain Supreme can be kind of like, you develop an emotional attachment, or is there a physical, is there an actual neurochemical physical?
I think there's a dopaminergic pathway addiction. I'm not sure.
So that's probably different than psilocybin, because
psilocybin is zero.
Yes. Okay. So there is something in nicotine. Okay.
Yeah. So nicotine is very neuroprotective.
But when we're talking nicotine here, we're talking pure tobacco that's grown and extracted.
Non-tobacco.
So there's no...
Just nicotine.
Yeah, but you have to grow tobacco to get... Or is there nicotinic acid in other products?
Well, you can get the distilled nicotine in, like, patches and gum and other... You can get nicotine pills as well.
But are there multiple plant origins for nicotinic acid, or does it originally all come from tobacco?
I think there's a tree that grows in this latitude called a Yopon holly.
Oh.
That might have...
Interesting.
I may be wrong.
Okay.
It's truth-ish.
But just for the listeners out there, like, there's from a health outcome standpoint, from an enjoyment standpoint, like, major difference between smoking pure organic tobacco versus cigarettes and tobacco products.
Yeah.
They're not even close. They've been so adulterated.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're using nicotinic acid, you're using methylene blue, and then that's also you needed the neuronal repair. So that's the exposure to psychedelics kind of.
So there's 4 pathways. I needed to stop brain damage, and that's methylene blue and extremely high dose melatonin.
Oh.
So most people take 4 milligrams. I take 200.
200
a day.
A day. Still.
Yeah.
Okay.
With in a suppository, because if you take it orally, your liver, it's called the first pass effect.
Yeah,
is going to just obliterate those molecules,
right? Like
95% of them.
Okay, so
melatonin
in suppository form.
Yeah, it is the strongest antioxidant that you can take.
What time of day would you do the milk?
Sunset.
Got it. Okay.
So right when my body's getting ready to start making it automatically.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. So it pairs with your circadian rhythms and so forth.
Right.
Great. Makes sense. Okay.
Helps you go to sleep, and it's not going to knock you out like you took a whole bottle of them from Walgreens.
Yeah.
So methylene blue and melatonin's even radioprotective. It can help prevent damage from X-rays and gamma rays and alpha rays.
EMF, electromagnetic frequencies and so forth?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good.
And sun. It can stop you from getting sunburns. You don't need sunscreen.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
I've found and been reading, also Dr. Jack Kruse, another tangent, but we're going to come back to it, that because I've always had this personal belief that you excrete oil through your skin. So the more rancid oils you're taking in, the more likely you are to get sunburn. There seems to be a massive correlation between the development of toxic sunscreens and sunburn. That was my personal belief since like the late 90s. And then also Dr. Jack Kruse is doing this research about light, that when you wear sunglasses and you block the UVA and UVB from absorbing your eyes, it blocks the alchemical process where your body releases the certain compounds that it needs to properly absorb and assimilate UVA and UVB and not burn. And since I've started doing like really those three things, like I'm a little red today because, you know, I did my son, it was very warm here this weekend. It's beautiful, bright and sunny. And I missed my morning workout because I had to like farmer's market and then leaving at 10, get to the field by 11. He's got an hour warm up and then games from 12 to 2. I did an outside dumbbell workout in the sun and then 2 hours in the sun, but like sun felt great. While my brother is like hiding with a hat on in the shade. I'm like, no. So it's a completely different process. If you just clean up your oils, never use sunscreens. You can use some coconut oil. You can make tallow sunscreens, like natural sunscreens, but I didn't even do those. And then also stop with the sunglasses.
Yeah. And that's, once that sun hits your eye, it's a 3 chemical process. It's opsin, melanopsin, and melanocortin.
There you go.
Those are the 3 big ones.
There you go. Okay. What was the catalyst for this integrative approach to repairing your brain? It was you read the medicine that they put you on, that your brain doctor put you on. You realize, oh, this leads to seizures.
Yeah, threw it in the garbage.
Okay, what was were you just sniffing it on the internet? Had you had some exposure? Like, what was the catalyst that directed you towards this more natural and integrative way of healing?
So it was a triangle. I wanted to repair, protect, and reconnect. It rhymes even.
Repair, protect, reconnect. There you go. Yeah.
So I have methylene blue and melatonin up in repair. And protect, I have this kind of semi-high dose nicotine. And reconnect, just in case there's some holes or pockets that the roads are blocked, right? I want to rewire around those roads. So I need to drastically increase my level of neuroplasticity. So I started microdosing psilocybin, and that dramatically and I'm not saying like I did this for 3 weeks and I was better. One day. Day one, everything changed in an instant.
By the way, I hear that is not uncommon. We've sold about 10,000 of these now. And in about 40% of the people, like it's day one, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea my brain needed it that badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't know you were thirsty and then you're like, oh my God.
Yes. Yeah.
This water is amazing.
Yeah. My thing is it's water with minerals. It's like you're an athlete and you've had nothing but like mineral depleted, electrolyte depleted water. And then all of a sudden you're an athlete and you're out competing for a day and you're having water with really good electrolytes and minerals and good salts. And you're like, oh my God, like I didn't realize I could function at this level. It's not shroomy. It's not stony. It's all of a sudden your brain goes to thunk, like a new normal. And then you're questioning like, wait, this is how I should be every day. Like this feels so good because it's new, but it feels normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. It's such a gift from God, universe, whatever.
Yes.
And my first large dose with mushrooms, I think I did everything pretty right. I blindfolded, laid down on the couch, good music, no lyrics on. And I had a babysitter there. My only instructions for this babysitter were just shut up and help me if I get in trouble, but just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Let me go through this process, which should be everybody's. If somebody wants to talk you through an experience, run.
Yeah.
Run from that person. But it was so profound.
So let me just for like everybody out there, there's a difference between holding space and intruding upon that space.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're going to do a high dose on your own with somebody who you trust and love, define it that clearly. I just need you to sit here. Maybe you can put, if it's like really intense, I might even ask for it. You can put your hand on a chest, squeeze a big toe, but like literally like just you'll know. Yeah.
You'll know if I need help.
Don't think you need to come running in. Yeah. Okay, please go on.
So, and that was my first like dose of mushrooms. That was a big dose.
So this is fairly recently.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was life-changing and it was spiritual, and it was like, it's so far beyond what how language can describe anything.
Yeah.
But it gave me the feeling, and whether this is correct or not, I don't care, but I view it this way. I just had this feeling that the psilocybin is sentient in some way.
Yeah.
And it was exploring me as much as it was going the other way. And I was kind of exploring this, whatever it was, space. But when I woke up the next day, I'm thinking, how many seizures are we going to have today? Do I have any meetings where I'm on a Zoom call where I'm going to look like an idiot because I have a seizure in the middle of this call? Just like I'm processing every day. I'm used to doing this every day. Let me mitigate all these Zoom calls so I can have seizures on a phone call so nobody knows I'm having a seizure. They just think I have a bad connection, right? For a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But that was it. That was my last seizure, was right before that journey. And I've since, this is 14 months, no seizures. But I started the methylene blue about 2 years ago. So kind of on and off. And ever since I started that methylene blue, it was lower, lower, and lower. And so it was starting to get better. But once I started the microdosing, everything changed. Wow. And it was
in conjunction.
Life-changing.
The seizures, I just want to go back to a rabbit hole for a second, because I've noticed a couple things. There's vaccine reaction, and then there seems to be shedding with the COVID. Did any of your neurological conditions, particularly the onset of the seizures, correlate to you either getting the COVID vaccine or being in proximity, working environments with people who did get the COVID vaccine? Because there's some of the shedding things that I think are happening are pretty diverse and terrifying. So any correlation there, do you think, that it could have been something that triggered the other end? Or
no, I think the seizures started pre-COVID.
Okay, good. And
I didn't get the vaccine, so
okay.
that wouldn't have probably been the reason. But if I could take a minute to explain what one of these seizures is like.
Yes.
It's not where you lay down on the ground and you're shaking. It's a completely different type of seizure. It's like a somatosensory parietal lobe seizure. These are temporal lobe seizures. And
point to the part of the brain where the temporal lobe.
So right around here.
Okay, got it.
This kind of like where you would put those little bone conducting headsets.
Yes.
That's for your temporal lobe.
Okay.
And so it's a seizure that just kind of like you zone out for like a minute and a half. But right before the seizure hits, there's like a 30-second period of they call it an aura, but it's the onset period. And you get deja vu that is so powerful that you think every human being around me set this up. I am being set up by every single person at this party or at this bar, this restaurant, whatever. Everyone's involved. There's no way that all of this could be exactly like this without someone setting me up. It's terrifying deja vu. Wow. And then it hits, and it's like a roller coaster feeling in your stomach, and then you're just gone. You have no motor control. You can't scream for help. You can't move your body. And during this period, the way it was for me anyway, I would have about 3 years worth of memories of a life that was not mine in this 60-second seizure. So it was in my head, it was the equivalent of me being inside that seizure for like 3 years and living some weird life that is not mine at all.
Was it a continuous life from
No.
seizure to seizure? You weren't like picking up and staying with okay, now I'm 15, now I'm 18, now I'm 21. No, it was different lives.
Random weird stuff. But the memories all, let's say it's 1,000 sheets of paper that goes into my memory file cabinets. The seizure opens your real memory drawers and puts these things randomly into your everyday life.
So you think the seizure was, because let's talk a little bit about past life and things like that, and DNA continuance, genetic continuance. So was the seizure opening up the drawer and dropping something random in, or was the seizure opening up the drawer and pulling something from another, but just in random, non-sequential order, so you couldn't make any connection to them? Was it messing with your DNA sequencing and DNA memory?
Right. In all of the memories, I could say 100%, they were me and I didn't have this body. So I think absolutely there's a chance that there's some other crazy stuff going on. Joan of Arc had it. L. Ron Hubbard had the same condition.
Oh, well, did you ever walk through the Scientology Center?
No.
Dude, you want to talk about like cognitive dissonance? So my wife was on Broadway, and she can sing her ass off.
Let me interrupt you real quick and just say that like Van Gogh, Picasso are also rumored to have it, so we don't just leave off with L. Ron.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Make that the final memory.
I just want to interject this one thing because it touches back and it's like a moment of comedy. So L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, they would have Christmas parties and stuff like that. And they hired my wife to sing at one of these Christmas events. And it was a pretty good payday. And literally, we lived right down the block from the Celebrity Center. So we went and we sang, and it was really nice. And they're like, do you want a tour? And I'm also a writer. And I'm like, yeah, let's see what this is about. So literally, we're walking down the annals of the Celebrity Center. And there's L. Ron Hubbard in the most cliched photographic image of L. Ron Hubbard, the ship captain, and he's got a ship's captain wheel, and he's got the ship's captain hat. L. Ron Hubbard, the pilot, and he's flying the plane, or he's holding the plane controls. L. Ron Hubbard, the novelist, and he's at the computer. Like 50 realms of mastery and expertise were all captured with these photo annals as he walked down the hallways. And I was like, and I said to the person giving us the tour, I'm like, how could somebody be masterful in all these different I mean, it was like carpentry, home building, chefing. I mean, it was just dozens and dozens and dozens of expression of mastery of a topic. And the guy who was giving us the tour, I'm like, how could somebody have been so masterful in so many areas? Well, that's just L. Ron Hubbard. And I'm like,
you know what that sounds like?
It was crazy.
You know what that sounds like?
What's it sound like?
It sounds like Kim Jong-un.
Oh, yeah. Like I could imagine that. Yeah.
Where they say, Kim Jong-un has the world record for hole-in-ones. Every time he plays golf, every hole is a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
He's never missed a baseball hit. Yeah. Everyone's a home run.
It was almost like that. And they were these like late 1950, 1960 kind of staged photos, beautiful photos in a way, but like so capturing the time. It was completely nuts. But okay, so L. Ron Hubbard.
They would attract more people if it was just brutal and honest. And I mean, like you go to the Ernest Hemingway Museum, his alcoholism is on full display. Mm-hmm. No one is trying to sugarcoat it, and everyone loves him. Yeah. He's revered by so many people. Mariel Hemingway is a friend of mine.
Right. But they're not giving 20% of their income to the Hemingway Foundation. So it's a little bit of you need a different personality type in terms of your profiling. So, but okay, so go on. So sorry about that. So all these people have had these, you're in good company, or interesting company, I should say, when it comes to these seizures. So then you've got the methylene blue, you've got the suppository, melatonin, the nicotinic acid, and then you also found macro and micro dosing.
Yeah.
And that was your return to health. And how long's it been?
It's over a year now.
And no more seizures?
None. Wow. Zero. And I'm back to it well above 100% where I was even before seizures. I'm more cognitively present as far as I know. And everything that I'm saying right now, this may not be a solution. I may start having seizures tomorrow. But as for right now, it's permanent. Yeah, that feels very permanent.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And now your key people in your organization, your family, they know what to look for as well. It's not going to be like, did I have a nap or something? So that's very important. Okay. So, I know you're starting to you've got your masterminds, you've got, mentees, private coaching, your online presence, but you're also moving into the workshop space. So talk to me about your evolution where you're kind of going with your career and how you're trying to take your behavioral analysis, combined with like in these retreats and psychedelics and so forth? Like, where's the next phase of Chase Hughes University kind of moving? Like, what's your plan? What are you working to do? How do you want to assimilate the different areas of expertise that you've acquired?
There's going to be two. So the system that I teach is called the NCI. It stands for Neurocognitive Intelligence. And it's a behavioral system where you can read the room, like become extremely authoritative and confident without being a dick.
Yeah.
And also communicate extremely persuasively. Like the most, I guarantee, the most extremely persuasive methods and techniques in the world, hands down.
Yeah.
So that's one NCI pathway. And the other pathway is I've found myself on this passionate mission to break people out of ego because it's so beautiful. And I think most people go to the grave without ever having like unzipped that little ego costume. Just spend 5 minutes out with that costume on the floor and let it go for a minute. So I've tried to, we've made a new part of our company that's called Exit. And it's kind of exiting the ego-driven portion of life. And we have these retreats. We have courses and seminars and stuff for the NCI stuff. We have government ones and police and all this, like very serious, very grounded in science and all that. Then we have this Exit thing. And it's me wanting to see how much of my costume I can also peel on. So I do these events for myself too. And I go through the exercises with everybody, but we have the world leading experts come to every one of these events, personally walk everybody through every aspect of it. It's a massive combination of extreme hypnosis and going on a few journeys that are very well guided from the leading experts in the world, and just an absolute 4-day process of absolutely making an event for your brain that you walk out of there and I am changed. That there is a pre-exit event and there's a post-exit event where I've spent 4 days outside of that ego or 3 days outside of that ego and I'm never going back. And you have the option at the end of that, like to pick that costume up and zip it back up or just leave it. And my goal is that most people leave it.
Yeah.
But as a brainwashing expert, I wanted to design the absolute program for good that's actually going to bring some good to the world and get people into a place where I'm not seeing other people. I'm starting to see me everywhere I look. And where I used to, if I'm getting good at behavior profiling, most people think when I get really good at reading people, I'm going to see insecurities and fears. I'm going to be judgmental. I'm going to judge somebody. But it gives you empathy at first, and then you're not seeing all those insecurities and fears. You're seeing you. That's when you get really good and you get to this like other levels. Like I'm seeing me in everything and stepping out of the ego. So our first event is in Mexico here in just a few months.
Oh, is it going to be, or are you going to shift it?
It's going to be in Mexico because I rented a whole resort and I can't get money back. But our next one will be right here in Austin.
Okay, good. So we'll have it in the show notes and everything, and then also people can just go to your website and so forth. What's the web address? We'll put it again.
NCI. University.
Okay, so they can follow up on these workshops.
Please do. I make it like a 10x return on investment, and I make it to where like I do every podcast like my mom's going to watch, and I make every business decision like my parents are all going to see it, and that they better be okay with it.
Yeah.
So I hope we get a lot of people there.
Yeah. Well, I can vouch for your authenticity. We've been spending some time with each other now for sure. 100%. You know, I've often felt that the term brainwashing is, it's pejorative when it shouldn't be, because we all want dirty things washed clean. So it's really brain programming, false programming versus washing. Like I've always said, like that's just not the right term. Like brainwashing is the good thing. It's brain programming that's very often, or negative brain programming that's like the bad thing. So it's like, I don't know, that's just a little side thing. But I always felt like you're a brainwashing expert in the best of terms.
In the best way.
Yeah, in the best of ways. Like you want to clean the muck and dirt and egoic gunk off of people's brains so they can experience a whole new sense of optimization and well-being and so forth.
I've trademarked the name cognitive surgery.
Oh.
So maybe we can call it that. I think it's a good name.
Yeah, that's a good name. Yeah. That's that is a good name. Well,
equally weird.
Yeah. That's very exciting. How busy, how you managing your time demands, how you kind of processing it all? You brought on staff. Like, how's that been for you? Because you've had, I'd have to imagine since Patrick Bet David and some of the other big ones, you've had like explosive growth probably, right?
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily I've got some good behavior profiling skills. So you've met a lot of my team.
Yeah.
You've met my sister yesterday.
Yeah.
And, my sister runs my company.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, if you have a good team, you can have a shitty company, but you can't have a shitty team and a good company.
Right.
It'll fail.
Right.
So the team is what matters more than anything. And I wanted to hire a boss for me. And maybe you're the same, because I'm not a business person.